morning, guys. Planting tomatoes today. Good morning. What I'm about to show you is how we grow a year's worth of tomatoes all at one time. If you're trying to grow the biggest tomato in the neighborhood, this might not be a video for you. If you truly want to have enough tomato sauce, salsa, whatever, for your family for the next year, let's see how we do it. As you can see, I've already got some of it started. What I do is I go through and I space my fence posts. Now you can use anything to stake what your tomatoes are going to do, but I grow them one fence post apart. So it's easy to space, easier to put in, and I drive the fence post down. You can see a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of tomato holes here. Next thing I do is I go through with a post hole digger and dig a hole about a foot or so deep for every one of my posts, which in this case is a little less than 50. Tomatoes are a funny thing. You can put them in too early in the season and they will sit there because it's too cool. Tomatoes like hot, humid weather. Well, here in the Mid-South, we don't have a problem getting hot, humid weather, but it does take till mid-May or so to get it. So I'm not usually in a big hurry. We have a long growing season here. Now I realize there's gazillions of videos on YouTube with how to grow tomatoes. This is how we've been doing it for 30 years. And we will get nothing short of 400 or 500 pounds of tomatoes. Before you put your tomato plants in, there's a couple things you need to do. First of all, if you have ever had blossom end rot is where the end of the tomato just rots right off after it looks pretty good up until the time it's about to be picked, sometimes before, usually not. So what we do is we put something in the hole and all season to help prevent this. Now, yes, we've got clay soil and it just sucks. These are the two items that we put in the hole. We use some Epsom salt and we use some gypsum. Gypsum is what will primarily release the calcium and prevent blossom end rot. The Epsom salt is for magnesium. Some people will tell you these things don't help. Well, after all the years we've been doing it, they might be wrong. My guess is if you go back and look at what they're telling you, they're trying to sell you something so that you'll buy it from them instead of getting these cheap ingredients from wherever. When placing these two elements in the hole, we'll take the Epsom salt first. You're going to take and get a pinch and drop it in the hole. Looks pretty cut and dry. There it is. Looks about right. Now our gypsum, we're going to take this highly technical measuring cup. We're going to get some in the cup, and we're going to, you can see it here, technical, and we're going to sprinkle it, maybe half cup, into the hole. And then we're going to take a little bit of dirt and put over the top. Kind of pat it down a bit. Now this hole is, this hole is ready for a tomato plant. Once again, for those of you that missed it, we're going to take a pinch of our Epsom salt, just a pinch, and we'll drop it in the hole. You can see it down in there. I'm going to pick up our highly technical cup of gypsum, and we're going to pour that in the hole, just a little bit. And then we're going to take some dirt and cover it up. I really don't want my roots of my plant directly touching this. It'll grow into it. Today we're planting celebrity tomatoes. And as you can see, it's pretty much root bound and it's got some bad leaves. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take those leaves off. Kind of hard to do this with one hand, but they are now trimmed off. Now I want you to look at the base of this. You see the small little nubs coming out the bottom? Those are roots. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay this tomato plant in the hole and plant it up to where about where the bottom leaf is. What that will do is this will create a huge substructure for the roots and allow this plant to take off like a rocket. Now we're going to bust up this little pot at the bottom. These were grown from seed, by the way. You can catch that video in our video collection. And we're going to rough this up a little bit so these roots can take off. They won't be contained after they go in. You can see you got roots going here, there, and everywhere. And we're going to lay this in the hole. Now you can see that we're going to plant this. Try to get this best I can so you can see it. Just like that. And so we're going to lay some dirt in and move to the next one. This is what it looks like when it's finished. And it's ready to rock and roll. Now I got, well, a little less than 50 more to do. Now that we have all our tomato plants in, we're going to take some 10-10-10 fertilizer and liberally sprinkle it around the top before we put our tomato cages in. These were made by my grandson and I, maybe a decade or so ago, maybe longer, out of concrete reinforcing wire. They last forever. And if you're going to do these things for the long term, this is the way to go. If you notice, the holes in the concrete reinforcing wire are just plenty big enough to get your hand in and huge tomatoes out. As I stand out here in the rows and rows of tomatoes that we have, it's a lot of work getting to this part. These plants were all started from seed, ran through the germination chamber, under the lights, hardened off, and now on the ground. It'll be worth it in the end. Until next time, see you down at the barn.